Zero Budget by Design. The previous session was actually a wonderful setup, for this, because community building is just so very important for this approach. The idea of storytelling is so very important for this approach. And I would also add providing the options for showcasing varied perspectives on a topic. So having productive discussions, including when it's a controversial topic, is also important. And it's definitely all about the power of visibility. So thank you so much, for setting it up so nicely. Okay, so today I want to talk with you about an approach that's been incredibly liberating for me. It's in some way, it's the most joyful part of my job. And as I was thinking about it, I thought about happiness research. So in happiness research, there's a lot of talk about having more money beyond the basics of having a roof over your head and food in your belly and some savings for future projects, future possibilities. It does not bring you happiness. What brings you happiness is building community and building connection. And ultimately, that's what this project is all about, this approach is all about. You notice that there are two names here. My partner in crime, Dr. Julian Kilker, was not able to come, but he's a little jealous that we get to have this beautiful view and this wonderful venue, and he sends you his greetings. So I'll introduce a little bit about him first. Dr. Kilker is associate professor at University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Focusing on emerging technologies from a socio-technical lens. And that also, as right now, of course, it involves a lot with artificial intelligence, and so he uses artificial intelligence, particularly machine learning, in order to look at data scraping and image analysis, because he's also a very serious hobby photographer that's been award-winning and is very frequently in both regional and some international shows with his photography. So a little bit about me that is relevant to this presentation. So I am the lead for learning technology innovation at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, for the College of Fine Arts. The College of Fine Arts is a bit unusual in that it houses architecture, art, dance, film, music, theater, and entertainment, engineering, design. So really thinking about the fine and performing arts and design and media as a whole, right? And so that's going to be relevant to our approach. So I'm also editor-in-chief of a 3-year-old peer-reviewed journal with a thematic issue on artificial intelligence and possible futures for the arts, because of course that is the thing that we're thinking about now, about the impacts on all of these in different ways, on these fields in different ways. This being editor-in-chief of this journal with this thematic issue has led to all kinds of other opportunities. For example, I was the co-chair of the UNLV Faculty Senate Artificial Intelligence Work Group. I'm a UNLV AI Fellow looking at AI innovations in using artificial intelligence, the pros and cons, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I was also just last week tapped to be the convener of the Nevada State Higher Education AI Workforce Work Group, which is I'm going to start with after this conference next week. Also relevant is one personal detail. I'm an aikidoka, which means that I practice a defensive martial art called aikido. It's an art, martial art that works with the energy around us, the energy that comes from the people that we live with, the people that we work with. I use aikido, really, the concept, every day in my life with all of my coworkers, and I use aikido in this project, and so that's going to become relevant to what I want to talk with you about. Okay. All right, so here's just some foundational insights. We've talked a bit about this, right, in this conference. So yes, a journal is a social document. It's really about community building, certainly for us. And for us, an effective journal has been the result of an intense social collaborative process and technology that supports both the creation and distribution of content. And so digital commons has indeed been central to being able to seamlessly work with our stakeholders and being able to provide a completely free, open access journal. There's no money that flows from the contributors to us, from us to the contributors from anybody, really. And that has indeed been the liberating part. I don't have to think about the money, right? So our specific goals is that we support a community that's exploring new technologies and opportunities. And so as we were launching this journal, as we were thinking about this journal, artificial intelligence hadn't yet been the big thing. And it just so happens that both timing and the editorial board getting right on board in November 2022 with the publication in The Atlantic of the article on ChatGPT and OpenAI that galvanized the editorial board that this is the topic that we need to focus on. So here we are talking about this new technology and opportunities. And what's kind of key is also preserving traditions in all of these fields, many of whom have traditions that are hundreds and sometimes millennia years old. We also wanted very much to invite and nurture additional voices at this particular critical moment. In the arts, there are many parts of the arts where writing in peer-reviewed academic journals is not the thing that they do. They do performances, they build buildings, they show in galleries. They don't do research academic papers with extensive citations. And as I was doing my regular work as learning innovation lead at my college, I would often have these conversations with faculty members saying, what you do is so fascinating. Have you considered publishing? Have you considered telling the world about what you do? And invariably, the answer that I got is, one, I have never thought about it. Yeah. And two, where would I publish it? And we very much saw that there was no place to publish on learning technology innovations, in particular in this field. And so there was a niche and there was a need. But we need to talk with all the stakeholders and get them involved into this process. The other important part was that we needed to operate without extra costs for participating individuals and institutions. I work for a public university that serves minorities. Any money that I ask for is money that does not go to other needs. So it was very important to me that the money was not going to be a factor in this. All right, so the result was this journal, Traditional Innovations in Arts, Design, and Media Higher Education. So it is completely open access, it is rigorously peer-reviewed, and it's now becoming internationally recognized. This data is from last month. Now we're at 7,600 plus downloads from 109 countries. We have, as of this moment, published 12 peer-reviewed articles. 9 of those are peer-reviewed research contributions. They're not always articles because we're talking about the arts writ large, but they always have extensive citations. All of them have gone through 2 rounds of peer reviews, and an initial one and then a second one after the initial resubmission. I'm very proud to say that we have added, 9 new voices, people who have never considered, publishing or who have very little experience in publishing. We do more than just the journal. We also have webinars that deal with this, and in each webinar, we invite new voices into the mix in order to broaden our reach, broaden conversation. We do a lot of conference panels, and in addition to this, there's one at the University of Amsterdam in December. And we've been to 2 US national summits where we've given presentations on our findings. And ultimately, we want to be and are a growing, interconnected global community. So community building, power of visibility is absolutely part of the core of what we want to do. The result also has been appreciation for, even though these are various rigorous peer reviews, right? 2 peer review cycles, that's a lot, especially for new voices. And invariably, we get comments, verbal and written, about what we do, that it is a positive and supportive process. So the features, I've talked a little bit about it. So we are run by higher education volunteers. Mostly we're faculty in the creative fields. That could be administrative faculty or academic faculty. The Digital Commons journal platform is hosted by my home institution, so UNLV libraries that totally give us access to this for free. And the key part is that we're affiliated with an international network, the Alliance for the Arts and Research Universities. So as you've probably noticed at this point, right, zero budget by design does not mean that it's free, right? There's always, someone has to pay the salaries, right, the living expenses, right? Someone has to pay for Digital Commons. What we do is we leverage the existing resources, the sunk costs institutions have already paid, and they want added value to what they've already done. And we work extensively with all the stakeholders' interests. So here's the journey, and that kind of gives you a kind of a timeline and the joys and the challenges, kind of an overview. So let me take you on the journey. So January 2020, just before the pandemic, I was at a meeting and said, wouldn't it be wonderful if we had a peer-reviewed journal that would be a voice for faculty doing amazing things, innovations in learning technologies, while preserving the core of traditions. As you can imagine, as learning technologist, I became extremely busy starting in February 2020, working 12 to 16-hour days. I was thinking about it in the back of my head, and by around the middle of 2021, I had gotten the partners and the support kind of ducks in a row. I had established a relationship with A2RU, the Alliance for the Arts and Research Universities, by becoming an executive committee member and having conversations about the possibilities of this journal, founding it with them. I had gotten the Digital Commons platform provider and established that, yes, this was indeed possible, and it was not, that the technology was not going to get in the way of community building. And I had gotten the enthusiastic support of my supervisor, my dean, who was very excited about this project. In 2022 was a year where we launched the journal, starting with the work with A2RU. We established an international editorial board. So very important that we went beyond UNLV and beyond the Southwest region where I'm from. We had created the Digital Commons platform with the wonderful support of our of our consultant, Willie Thurlow. And we had several launch events, both webinars and an event at the National A2RU conference. With all of this enthusiastic support, we launched it, and then there were crickets. So this was not a situation where if you build it, they will come. We had to do something more. And so when in November 2022, this article came out, within 24 hours, I got 2 emails. One was from Julian Kilker and said, you know, this is what this journal should be talking about. This, what you've been working on for several years, this is what's important. And then one from an editorial board member who said the same thing, right? This is what we need to talk about. And so we were able to, because we're such a small, scrappy volunteer organization, we were able to really pivot very rapidly and then issue this special issue call or thematic issue call about artificial intelligence and possible futures for the arts. It was published, or it's being published in 4 stages. We've gone through 3. Each time that we published something, that we published a stage, we were able to see what worked well, what didn't work well, and improve upon the process. In 2024, after we'd gotten through 2 stages of publications, we got an ISSN number, and now we're trying to build on our success. And that's indeed why I'm here, so thank you, Digital Commons. Okay, so here are some lessons learned. So of course this does not work for every single situation. Your journals are probably organized differently, but there's probably something here that might be useful for you. All right, so one is that we do very nuanced stakeholder mapping continuously. We ask ourselves which institutions, individuals, networks are deeply interested in supporting the goals of this journal. What motivates each of these stakeholders? And then how can the journal support the specific motivating factors? And then the question is always, what existing resources and sunk cost could support ongoing needs? What can be built out? So again, nothing comes free. So we have to work with the motivating factors at every level. So here is where aikido comes in. Okay, so literally I flow with my coworkers. I flow with my stakeholders in every stage of the way. This requires just a deep sense of patience, flexibility, and grace. Working with volunteers, you have to work on their timeline, not my timeline, right? I have to have a sense of service orientation, that I am here in support of the community. Of course, that also comes with, boundaries, because you can't be a doormat, right? And so, so I have, graceful boundaries, and I give myself grace, and I give others grace. Yeah. We continuously ongoing stakeholder mapping, and we have a steady stream of invitations to participate in this way or that way. And that way we can see kind of who is interested, right? Who is deeply interested in this project, and what motivates them, what they are interested in participating, what serves them and their careers and their missions. And then I flow with that, these wishes, these desires, these dreams, okay? And the key thing, this is the absolute key thing, you never manipulate situations. You never, the moment that you go into manipulation, at that point, the project is sunk because people notice. If they ever feel manipulated, then they're not going to participate, right? And so really, it is absolutely always going with the flow and never manipulating for a particular outcome that is like my outcome or the editorial board's outcome, is really flowing with the needs. Okay. As you can imagine, there's a certain challenge with with this, and the key thing is actually scaling. So funding challenges and shifts elsewhere are going to affect what we can do, right? And there are key bottlenecks that we're constantly working with. And this is nothing new to this journal. We've talked a bit about this over the past couple of days. How can we engage with anonymous peer reviewers who are not publicly credited, right? And especially in the US right now, it's very challenging for higher education. It's challenging for a lot of different ways. And I've noticed that I've not been able to engage peer reviewers at the beginning of this year at all. Everybody was not just busy, but cognitively busy with other things that were very much on their minds. Now I'm able to get peer reviewers again, right? And again, I can't manipulate, right? I have to go with the flow. I have to give grace. And then another key project is, of course, how can the journal reach beyond the original network? Our network has been amazing in terms of getting reach. As you can see by the numbers, more than 7,000 downloads in a journal that didn't even have an ISSN number until last year is quite something, right? But now we would like to go beyond that network. And then how can volunteers continue to support new voices, including maybe voices that are not writing in English, for example. This is one of our key challenges. All right. So I hope this presentation has been useful for you in thinking about the possibilities of creating community, perhaps using this approach. For me personally, it's been very, very liberating, not having to think about where the money comes from or where the money goes. And I would love to engage you in a conversation about the pros and cons of this, whether it would work or it wouldn't work in your particular